Tonight, as we close out our retreat on, of course, cosplay night, we want to invite up someone who is used to dealing with imaginative characters with an amazing amount of imagination. You are young writers. Do you guys want to hear a little bit about our special guest? Yes? All right. Our last guest is the best-selling co-author of Do Hard Things and co-founder of the Young Writers Workshop and the Author Conservatory, which have trained thousands of writers since 2017. For the past 17 years, he has served as a personal mentor and coach for many of the world's top young writers and authors, and his mission to raise up the next C.S. Lewis and J.R.R. Tolkien. This speaker considers strong business skills to be the missing ingredient for many writers and is passionate about how entrepreneurship can make anyone more resilient, resourceful, and successful in life. Starting his own business has given him the freedom, flexibility, and financial provision necessary to serve as a full-time caregiver for his wife while also providing life-giving jobs for the incredible people on his team. Brett and his wife, Anna, are passionate about building profitable businesses that further God's kingdom and then giving generously to important causes, funding everything from medical expenses for needy families to Bible translation for people groups who have never read the Bible in their heart's language. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I give you our closing speaker, our CEO, a personal friend of mine, the Brett Harris!
Thank you guys so much. Is that still working? Okay. When David asked if he should just use the bio from the website, I did not remember how long the bio on the website actually was, so I apologize for that. Okay, well, I'm so glad to be with you, and I want to start out our closing session by sharing my either superhero or villain origin story. Who wants to hear it? All right. Well, it all started when I was 14 years old. See, from the age of 8 to 14, I would consider my peak reading years. I read voraciously. The average person reads around 12 books a year, so one a month. And I was probably reading 200 plus a month. Some of you probably have matched that at points in your life. But I was a voracious reader, and my parents did an incredible job of stocking our home with incredible books and stories to read. And so we had a bookshelf in every single room of the house, except the bathroom. That was intended to send the signal that with 7 kids, you could not read in the bathroom. We still did, but we had to smuggle the books in. And so I read, and then around the age of 13, 14, I had the terrible experience of feeling like I had run out of good, excellent books to read. I felt like, where's the next series that's like the Chronicles of Narnia or the Lord of the Rings? You know, where's the next book like Anne of Green Gables that can just thrill me with a character and with a story and with a world and leaves me a better person on the other side? I felt like I had drained the world of stories dry. And I was repeatedly disappointed by books that I was picking up and my attempts to find the next great story. Overcome with despair, I turned to nonfiction. And from the age of 14 on, I read the great books. But, you know, as Lewis said about Eustace Clarence Scrubb, you know, some of these books are the wrong sorts of books. They're very low on dragons. And I read a lot of books that were very low on dragons, and I learned a lot and was blessed by those books. And then I went on to write and publish my own nonfiction books. And then a lot of things happened, and now I'm here with all of you young writers writing stories. Now, I'm not going to tell you how this story plays out, and it's still to be seen whether it's a villain story or a superhero story, but you may be thinking, are we all here so that 14-year-old Brett never has to run out of good stories again? It's a good question. What I want to talk about tonight is the opportunity before us, the risks ahead of us, a vision to unite us, and the strategy that gets us there. One of my jobs on the team here is to be visionary, to be looking ahead, to be thinking about what's coming and where are we going and how do we prepare for it. Not just how to ride the last wave, but what's the next wave and how do we ride that one? And so I want to talk to you about that. And I want to start with a question. So I want you to raise your hand, and actually before I have you do this, I want to teach you guys how to raise your hands because I've been observing and there's a little bit of confusion. All right, you might think that this is raising your hand. This is raising your hand, okay? So we're gonna learn. This is raising our hands, okay? Great, everyone exercise those shoulders. Okay, raise your hand if you intend to publish either your first or your next book in the next 10 years. Pretty much everybody. Okay, if anyone was left out, how about in the next 25 years? Keep your hand up or raise it. In the next 25 years, do you intend to publish your first or next book? All right, great. You can put your hands down, save them for next time. Practically everyone in this room plans to publish in the next 25 years. And I have no doubt that each one of you will do it. Because what do I always tell you? The only way to fail at getting published is to what? Give up or die, yes. The only way to fail at getting published is to give up or die. And so unless you give up or God takes you home early, God forbid, I absolutely believe that each of you will do it. In fact, I want to make a prediction right now. I predict that we will help thousands of students debut as authors over the next 25 years. Thousands. I think that is actually a conservative prediction. You should have seen some of the initial numbers I wrote down as I was doing some math and calculating. But that number of thousands is enough for every single one of you in this room. And many, many more. If this happens, if we as a group are set to publish, and this is just talking about first books, thousands of books in the next 25 years, we're talking about a minimum of 2,000 books. So how many books is that? Let's visualize together. So if we took an IKEA bookshelf, okay, you guys can picture this with me, 7.5 feet tall, about 30-inch shelves, and 6 shelves in each one, it would take 17 bookcases to hold all of those books. And I actually need some student volunteers to help visualize this because I walked it off earlier. My feet happen to be exactly a foot long. And it would take a row of 45 feet of these 7.5-foot bookshelves with 6 shelves each to hold all those books. And so I need about 20 to 30 students to come up here and stand in a line from right here to the other side of the stage. So actually, I'm going to have students here in this corner come, because I need you to come up the steps and just file behind me to fill up this whole stage from all the way to the edge to all the way over here. That's 45 feet. So just keep going. And if it looks like we need more, then I need more people to come up here in the front. Yep. All right, squeeze shoulder to shoulder. All right. Keep going. We shoulder to shoulder, keep going. Almost there. Okay. I think don't go anywhere, but well, go right down there, but don't leave. All right. So this is 45 feet, and none of you are 7.5 feet tall. So imagine, well, you might be. Imagine 7.5 feet tall, 6 shelves each, this many bookshelves all across the stage to hold just one book from 2,000 students. Now, how many of you would like to publish more than one book? Okay, so we would need all of you, and all of you, and all of you, and all of you to all come up here. We won't do it right now, but we would need to double this, triple this, quadruple this, just to hold all of the books. That's pretty incredible. That's pretty insane. Thank you guys so much. You can go back to your seats. Now, someone could ask, and maybe someone is already sitting here asking, do we really need all these new stories? Why are we doing this? Is it just to fulfill the dream of becoming a published author? Well, the first thing I would say to that is that fulfilling a dream is valuable in and of itself. We could help thousands of people climb Mount Everest, or we could help thousands of people publish their first novel and launch a writing career. Both represent a remarkable achievement that most humans dream of doing but never do. Achieving a dream is a powerful thing by itself. And who each of us become in the healthy pursuit of a dream is good for the world. It's good for the people around us. I want to repeat that again, and I encourage you to write this down. Who each of us become in the healthy pursuit of a dream is good for the world. It's good for the people around us. Who each of us become in the healthy pursuit of a dream is good for the world, and it's good for the people around us. So even if that is all it was, this would be worth doing. But I think this is more than just fulfilling a dream. I think we need these thousands of new stories. And I can prove it to you with math and science. I'm going to try. Okay. Now, the prophets of doom like to talk about the decline of reading. How many of you have heard talk of the decline of reading? Some, yes, no one likes the decline of reading. But some parents may have heard this and thought, oh no, my child is pursuing a career doing something that will be obsolete in the next decade. Now, you might not have said that out loud, but this is what people think when they read about, get it? The decline of reading. And it's a real phenomenon. And if we just focused on the statistics on reading, we might decide that this whole writing novels idea is a really poor one. But what the doomsayers are missing is that even as people read fewer books, they are consuming more stories than ever before. According to studies, the average person today will read 840 books in their lifetime, which is not insignificant. It is incredibly higher and dramatically more than most humans would ever get to read for most of human history, really until the last 100 years or so. And so, even when we talk about the decline of reading, we have to keep it in historical perspective. The average person today who reads one book a month is reading far more than most humans throughout history ever would have access to read. But reading is only part of the picture. The average person will read 840 books in their lifetime, and they will watch 3,639 movies and consume 31,507 episodes of television. 3,639 movies and 31,507 episodes of television. That comes out to 85,000 lifetime hours engaging with long-form storytelling for the average person today. This doesn't even include video games, which are increasingly story-based, or storytelling podcasts, which have grown increasingly popular. Leaving those out and just focusing on books, movies, and TV shows, if you do the math, that comes out to nearly 10 years of 24-hour days, 365 days in a year, an entire decade in the average person's lifetime engaging with stories. That is more than ever before in history. And where are those stories coming from? At least half of those movies, and up to 66% on any given year, and up to half of those television shows, and the vast majority of the most successful and popular ones will be adapted from books. Books, novels, are where the best stories in film and television and streaming are developed, vetted, and discovered. There is an enormous demand for stories, more than ever before in human history. It is a great time to be a storyteller. But Brett, someone might say, surely there's incredible demand for stories, but there's also an incredible supply of stories. New stories being released every year. And that person would be right. Alongside the booming demand for stories, we have a booming supply of stories, with more novels being published each year than ever before, especially when you include self-published titles. And more movies and shows are being released each year than ever before, even as film studios are recovering from the pandemic. Over the last decade, we have hit a peak, and it is not stopping. But let me ask you this. How many of you have been disappointed by a novel, movie, or TV show because the storytelling was just bad? Raise your hand. Raise both hands if this happens to you often. Okay. Raise your hand if you ever find yourself returning to old favorites because you just don't want to risk being disappointed again. Raise both hands if this happens to you often. Look around the room. Like almost every single person has their hands up. This was my experience also. This was my origin story. It's still my experience today. The research I looked at showed that the average person spends almost 4,000 hours in their lifetime deciding what to watch next. Ouch. We have a massive demand for stories, a massive supply of stories, but not a massive supply of excellent stories. Are you starting to see the opportunity here? For you, for your stories, for your dreams. This scenario has played out repeatedly in other industries. Massive demand fuels massive supply of low quality product, leading to a vacuum where higher quality can thrive. In the coffee industry, there was massive demand in the 70s and 80s, but most people were drinking canned coffee brands like Folgers and Maxwell House. As a result, Starbucks, Peet's, the entire specialty coffee industry and coffee movement succeeded by offering higher quality beans, better roasting, and a premium experience. In the restaurant industry, fast food chains like McDonald's, Burger King, and Taco Bell met surging demand for quick meals in the late 20th century, but then we saw the rise of fast casual chains like Chipotle, Panera, Five Guys, who succeeded, yeah, some people like those, succeeded by offering fresher ingredients, customization, and a better dining experience. I'm actually a big fan of all three of those, so you're good. In the online education industry, we saw an explosion in online learning. Over the last 15 years, with options like Udemy and massive open online courses, creating a flood of online options, but many of them were low quality, low effort, and had abysmal completion rates. We're still in the middle of this process in the online education industry, but as a result, and in this vacuum, higher quality content from expert practitioners like Masterclass, as well as programs like ours that provide community, accountability, mentorship, and feedback have started to really stand out. In the baking industry, industrialization and mass production led to cheap, very shelf-stable, but maybe not the most nutritious bread, like Wonder Bread. Now, my dad used to go to school with Wonder Bread sandwiches with margarine and sugar inside. But since then, we have seen the rise of artisan bakeries, the sourdough bread movement, which have offered more fresh, flavorful, more nutrient-rich loaves, and people have lined up to buy them. Fitness industry. Demand surged in the 80s and 90s or the 80s through the 2000s, and that spawned a surge in tons of low-quality gyms, many of which no longer exist after COVID. But they were packed with machines, but no real training guidance. And so as a result, things like CrossFit, boutique fitness studios, like the one my wife and I go to, personal training programs have succeeded because they offer expert coaching and real community. In industry after industry, we can find examples where surging demand was met with a glut of low-quality supply, creating a wide open lane for higher quality entrants to succeed. The reality is, there is far more demand for excellent stories than can currently be filled. In fact, I would say the demand is practically endless. Think about it. What if every movie was as good as Toy Story or How to Train Your Dragon? What if every book was as good as the Chronicles of Narnia and Lord of the Rings? If every TV show was as good as Avatar: The Last Airbender? And all creatures great and small. Raise your hand if you would read and watch more if there were more options like that available. Of course you would. Of course you would. And so would everybody else. Publishers would sell way more books. Movie studios and production companies would be doing amazing. And all of us would be like kids in a candy shop, except all the candy is actually good for you. When I look at the enormous demand for good stories that is not being met in any consistent way, I see a massive opportunity for not just a few excellent storytellers to have an incredible impact, not just dozens or even hundreds. There is opportunity for thousands and thousands of storytellers, every single one of you, and many more. Over the next 25 years, I see an opportunity for our programs to become a pipeline for the best storytelling in the world. Not just novels, but films, TV shows, video games, and whatever other mediums come next. So that's the opportunity before us. And it's pretty cool. But as I've looked at all this, I've also been thinking about the risks. What are the things that could prevent this from happening? And this is not exhaustive, but I've zeroed in on 5 of them I want to share with you today. The first is adding to the noise. We could become part of the problem of surging supply that is not excellent. We could churn out books just to churn out books and not take the time, students, to develop excellence in our craft. Second risk, burning out quickly. All of you could pressure yourselves to publish right away, to achieve massive success quickly, expecting to be masterful early in your career, which is not how it works, and then losing heart when success takes time. Third risk, competition from artificial intelligence. I predict that AI will allow everyone to be a mediocre or decent storyteller. And decent storytellers will be replaced by AI capabilities, just like decent photographers were replaced by smartphone cameras and photo editing apps. But let's talk about photography for a minute. At the same time, there has been an explosion in demand for high-quality imagery. And in a world now awash in visual content, the difference between good enough photos and truly excellent photos is more apparent to the average person, meaning that truly excellent photographers and videographers are in greater demand and can charge higher prices than ever before. So I see a risk, especially if we don't take the time to develop excellence. I see the risk that AI will displace decent and mediocre storytellers. Number 4, competition from each other. If we have the mindset, if any of us are adopting and acting on the basis of a mindset that if she succeeds, if he succeeds, it means there's less opportunity for me, it could really spoil so much of this. If we are not helping each other up, not opening doors for each other out of fear and self-preservation, if we're not truly celebrating each other and each other's successes, if we're jealous of one another and allow that to fester, it could undermine everything that we've been talking about. And I hope that what I've shared shows you that there is more than enough opportunity to go around. Number 5, another risk I see is growing complacent. I think there's a real risk in the next 5 to 10 years, and this may be specifically for us as leaders and as an organization, but also for students, of getting drunk on our early success. Not continuing to strive for excellence, but coasting on the fact that we've got students who are landing book deals or indie publishing great novels that are winning awards, students who are having cool opportunities and impressing the industry, and everyone thinks they are so incredible for young writers. And we could fall far short of our potential, and that could be the end of the story. They were so great as young writers. So those are the 5 risks. Number 1, adding to the noise. Number 2, burning out quickly. Number 3, competition from AI. Number 4, competition from each other. Number 5, growing complacent. So in light of all this, both the opportunity before us and the risks ahead of us, I wanted to develop a vision statement that could keep us on track. And I developed this through a lot of conversation with our leadership team and staff. And I'd like to share it with you all today. Are you ready to hear our 25-year vision statement? Yeah. Our vision is to raise up the next C.S. Lewis and J.R.R. Tolkien by 2050. We will accomplish this by providing a world-class education for our students, lifetime support for our graduates, and writing-compatible careers for our faculty and staff. Let me repeat that so you can hear it again. Our vision is to raise up the next C.S. Lewis and J.R.R. Tolkien by 2050. We will accomplish this by providing a world-class education for our students, lifetime support for our graduates, and writing-compatible careers for our faculty and staff. Thank you. Now, the year 2050 is not a random year that we picked because it sounded cool. 2050 is the 100th anniversary of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe being published. Now, of course, the challenge with a vision statement is that you are trying to communicate a lot of things with very few words. Otherwise, it becomes a vision booklet. But since we are together today, you get the booklet. Let me give you 2 quick clarifications and then walk through the 5 key intentions behind this statement. So first, what this doesn't mean. This doesn't mean we're focused on our top 2 students. Okay, there's not one next Lewis and one next Tolkien, and we're trying to figure out who it is so we can pay attention to them and ignore everyone else. We are raising up thousands of authors, and there is no limit on how many heirs of Lewis and Tolkien we are willing to support. Ultimately, we want to treat each one of you as if you are the next C.S. Lewis or J.R.R. Tolkien. This also does not mean that we are focused only on fantasy and fantasy authors. Lewis and Tolkien were trendsetters who created more of what they wanted to see in the marketplace that didn't exist at the time. And so we will continue to work with students in all sorts of genres, including genres that have yet to be invented. So with those 2 quick clarifications out of the way, I want to dive into the 5 intentions behind this vision statement. This is the heart for why we developed it and what we want it to communicate to each of you. Number 1, remove the pressure for early success. At first glance, this vision might feel like a lot of pressure. But the heart behind it was to communicate to each of you that you can take your time. If you've watched my course in Young Writers Workshop called The Secrets of Storytelling Mastery, you know that mastery takes decades. And that was true for Lewis and Tolkien as well. They were not publishing the Chronicles of Narnia or the Lord of the Rings in their teens, or their 20s, or their 30s, or their 40s. C.S. Lewis published his first novel at 34, and many of you may never even heard of it because it wasn't his best work. It was called The Pilgrim's Regress. He published his first successful novel, which was the first in his space trilogy, at 39 years old. He did not publish his most successful work, The Chronicles of Narnia, until he was 51 years old, when The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe was released. Tolkien published his first novel at 45 years old. That was The Hobbit. He published his most successful work at 62 years old. That was The Lord of the Rings. We want to remove the pressure for early success. Number 2, we want to define success in a healthier way. What we believe Lewis and Tolkien exemplified are 3 key things: the highest levels of artistic excellence, not just good for a Christian, but just good, period, a broad cultural impact, and stories where light and hope shone brightly despite the darkness. And that is how we want to define career success for our students. Without a vision like this, other less healthy metrics for success could kick in automatically, like what publisher and how many books did you sell and bestseller lists and awards. And while there's nothing inherently wrong with those things, we want to elevate artistic excellence, cultural impact, and stories where light shines even through darkness, and elevate that above everything else. Number 3, we want to make a long-term commitment to each of you. This is a 25-year vision. Many of you will be in your 40s by 2050. Super old. We're in this, sorry parents, that was just a joke. We are in this for the long haul with you. We're building something to last. And your relationship with us does not end when you graduate or age out of the workshop. And everything we are going to be building moving forward is going to be in light of that. Number 4, we want to protect ourselves from complacency. This goal is so lofty, we will have to always be working to get better. We can't coast on the initial success of our students, which I see starting to happen in ways that get a lot of attention in the next 5 to 10 years, and we will have to continue to stay focused because our ultimate goal will take decades to achieve. Finally, the last intention, and maybe the most important, is that we want to aim so high that there's room for everyone. It's okay if you don't want to be a Lewis or a Tolkien. Because what it takes to raise up the next Lewis and Tolkien will also be sufficient to raise up whatever kind of author you want to be. If you want to be the next Louisa May Alcott, or Lucy Maud Montgomery, or the next Andrew Peterson or S.D. Smith, or the next Kara Swanson Matsumoto, or Anna Rose Johnson, or Millie Florence, or the next Francine Rivers, or Tricia Goyer, or Chuck Black, or the next author that none of us have heard of, but they wrote this one book that touched your heart. There's room for every writing dream under this umbrella. There will also be so many opportunities for our students to step into other roles within the writing and storytelling world, not only as authors. Because for some of you, you love the world of storytelling, but you want to play a slightly different part in it. But we want to be clear to all of our students that there is no goal you can aim for that is too high for what we are trying to build. And at the same time, there is no goal you can aim for that we would dismiss as too small. if that's what God has placed on your heart. Now, what's the strategy that gets us there? Lewis and Tolkien both had world-class writing educations. They had writing-compatible careers, and they had a fantastic creative community. You may have heard of it. It's called the Inklings. And we are putting a lot of thought into how we can continue to build on and provide this for each of you. But for today, and so we can all have dinner, I want to focus really big picture on how we're preparing you for the future. And for parents, I want you to keep in mind that most of these things are portable and transferable to all sorts of other careers and opportunities. Even if your student someday decides to leave writing behind, we hope that the skills and the lessons that they've learned here will set them up to thrive wherever God leads them. Because there are 3 pillars to success in any industry. The first is craft skills. This is actually being good at the technical performance of your field. If you're an athlete, you actually have to be good at playing your sport. Then, it's business skills. Knowing how to get paid, how to not be taken advantage of, how your field or industry works. Finally, it's people skills. How to form genuine relationships with people in your business, in your industry, so your reputation precedes you, and people are excited to open doors for you and want to work with you. Craft skills, business skills, people skills. These are the 3 pillars of success in any career or industry. If you can be exceptional in any one of these 3 areas, you could carve out a career while being average in another and poor in the third. If you are above average at all 3, you could have a strong career even without being exceptional in any of them. And if you can be exceptional in at least one and above average in the other 2, you have the ingredients for a remarkable career. Now, our programs are designed to help students who put in the work become at least above average within the writing industry in all 3 categories: craft skills, business skills, people skills. And let me tell you, it is not as hard as you might think to be above average in business skills and people skills in the writing industry. Some intentional effort to grow in these areas as a young person already puts you at a huge advantage in a field that, as a whole, is made up of artists and introverts who would rather avoid business and people. This is one of the things that sets our programs apart from other writing resources. We aren't just teaching about writing, we're teaching you business, entrepreneurship, marketing, platform building, email lists, networking, etc. Now, above average craft skill takes a lot more work in almost any industry, including writing. And this is where we are working to be the most innovative within our space. Our teaching methods are research-based. They're focused on timeless fundamentals that don't go out of style, and they're continuously refined by the fact that within the Author Conservatory, our 3-year college-level program, we are working on projects from story concept to completed manuscript with hundreds of students. Very few organizations in the world have access to the amount of data on story development that we do. And very few, if any of them, are using that data to learn how to teach writing and storytelling better, like we are. And we are using those insights from the Author Conservatory not just to continuously optimize our conservatory curriculum, but also how we're teaching all of you in the Young Writers Workshop and in the brand new Young Writer Honors Academy, our elite high school creative writing course that we are pilot testing this year. There is so much more I could say about how we are practically moving in the direction and positioning ourselves to fulfill this vision. And I would love and I would invite all of you to engage with me in conversation here, over email, at other events in the years to come on office hours, any point. I would love to hear your questions, your insights, your suggestions, and your feedback. But as we close, I want to summarize what all of this means for you right now. Last year at the Young Writers Retreat, I shared and told all of you, don't be afraid to try your hardest. This year, I want to leave you with the encouragement, don't be afraid to dream big. You don't have to rush. The world is big enough, and life is long enough for your dreams, even factoring in setbacks and hardship and struggle. There is more opportunity out there for excellent storytellers than you can imagine. And as your guides and mentors on this journey, we are always working to get better so that we can support your biggest dreams. And far more than any career success, we are embarking on this 25-year mission because we want you to thrive as a whole person. This vision is designed to give you the space to dream and space to breathe. We aren't just here to support you for a few years and then move on to the next batch of young writers. We want to be with you for the long haul, through the ups and downs, helping you walk the long path if that's what it takes to achieve your dreams. We selected Lewis and Tolkien not only because of their stature as authors, but also because they both suffered. Both, as young men, were in the trenches of World War I, having their entire lives and their world uprooted by a devastating war. And while my journey doesn't compare at all to the trenches of World War I, many of you know that I've walked my own path of long struggle, where writing has had to be set aside for over a decade while I care for my wife. And so I'm pleased to officially announce to you tonight that I am working on my first novel. You guys are rubbing off on me. I am going through our own curriculum, and I am following the process like we want our students to follow it. As someone who has never written a novel before, I am way behind all of you. But if I don't have to give up on my dream, you don't have to either. If I can help write some of the stories that 14-year-old Brett wished existed, you guys can too. And we can celebrate all the small steps along the way, and I will understand more than ever before just how meaningful it is to just get another chapter written after you've been stuck with writer's block, or to hear feedback from beta readers, or to wrestle with character arcs that won't cooperate. We can go on this journey together. Thank you.